You're watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. Welcome to Camnet TV main news with Banda Tandiwe. The headlines: hunger continue to ravage rural Zambia. Bars and nightclub owners dare police over planned protest. Zuped deliberates on best ways of fighting tribalism in Zambia. And international news: Lebanon government expected to resign after Beirut explosion. And in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo selling former Manchester mansion for £3.25 million. Do join me with the details after this break.
Msika is here. We have you all covered with just 150 kwacha. You can advertise every day from 17 hours to 18 hours. For a 30-second ad, get the benefit of selling your products and services on Msika. For more details, call our marketing department on +260 953 995099 +260 962 444-726 or +260 971 177 467. Email us on info@camnettvafrica.com. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. My name is Banda Tandiwe. In the details, Ministry of Agriculture Permanent Secretary Songozwayo Ziambo has reiterated the call by government to place agriculture as one of the 3 economic development movers as enshrined in the 7th National Development Plan. Mr. Ziambo notes that this can only be actualized if correct information on agriculture is disseminated, hence the need for journalists to know the technicalities involved in the sector. The PS was speaking at the official opening of a Koteva-sponsored workshop aimed at enhancing agricultural journalism reporting. And Koteva country leader Samson Nyendwa says Koteva has a 10-year commitment which will provide tools and training for farmers to increase yields stability, optimize inputs and improve climate resilience, of which the media play a key role. Let's get the details.
Accelerating economic diversification for shielding the economy from the effects of adverse commodity price fluctuations is cardinal for the country's developmental plan to work. Agriculture, being part of the economic drivers of the economy, away from the usual copper, is a must for Zambia to attain her aspirations for the Vision 2030. Agriculture, widely practiced on a small scale, calls for concerted efforts from various stakeholders to ensure that right information is sent across for people to choose the sector. Speaking at a workshop for agriculture journalism, Agriculture Permanent Secretary Songozwayo Ziambo says an accurate agriculture information base will bridge the gap between subsistence and commercial farmers.
It's a very technical and specialized field. It therefore requires for journalists and media practitioners reporting on agricultural news to be able to understand technical concepts such as the various good agricultural practices that farmers need to adopt to increase production and productivity. The second reason is that the ministry believes this workshop is important is because we view the media and you as journalists as important partners in disseminating agricultural information to as many people and farmers as possible. This is more the case now as we deal with the new normal arising from COVID-19, which has affected physical interaction and limited the ministry's ability to provide extension services to farmers as a result of social distancing measures.
And Koteva country leader Samson Nyendwa says Koteva Agri-Science strives to educate farmers on the best farming practices to enable them practice climate-smart agriculture and strive to improve their yields.
Productivity and enabling farmers to access right products and services. Technology in agriculture is a great piece of the answer to food security. But for technology to reach the farmers, the media, the journalist, must be equipped with agriculture knowledge besides partnering with players in the agriculture sector like Koteva. This is the reason leadership of Kotev Agri-Science, being a good corporate citizen, approved the introduction of this enhancing agriculture.
The Agriculture Journalism Workshop is sponsored by Kotiva Agri-Science, the holding company Seed for brands Pana and Pioneer Seed Zambia. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Bars and nightclub owners have dared the police, who have vowed to deal with them should they go ahead with their planned protest over the continued closure of their businesses in the view of the coronavirus pandemic. Association President Peter Mwale says the association will not be forced by anyone to call off their planned protest aimed at forcing government to consider opening their businesses. Mr. Mwale says plans for the protest have reached an advanced stage. Let's get the details in this report.
Where are we going? The police spokesperson has told the lies. We delivered the letter, and what is very strange is that when you deliver a letter at force headquarters or for police headquarters, you even sign. We even left our details there, numbers are there. I think you saw the letter. Did you see the letter, sir? And it was received, isn't it? So now for the police to come and say, no, what we are doing is illegal and they will not allow us, it's shocking. It's very shocking and it's very dishonest. Let the police do the right thing. So because of that, we came here at Civic Center, as you can see, to tell our members to go away. We are going to re-strategize. The protest will go ahead. But because the police, they are saying that we didn't follow the law, we are going to write this time around. And this time around, when we write, we are going to give Esther Matakatongo herself in person so that she can see. We are going to attach the letter that we wrote earlier to the IG. So we don't know when you address the letter to the IG, or you have to address a letter to a spokesperson. We don't know, because as far as we are concerned, when you address a letter to the Inspector General of Police, we have notified the police, isn't it? So now for her to come out in that fashion and say we should follow the law and what else can we do? We followed the law. As an association, our bars have been closed since March up to now. Landlords, most of our bars premises, we rent from landlords.
Means and ways of how our voices should be heard, because this is tantamount now they're suppressing our voices and our views. So in the same vein, we wish to state it, put it on record, that it's not a sign of cowardice. We are just law abiding. For us to tell our members, no, let us not gather here at Civic Center. It's not cowardice, but it's just a matter of we are trying to engage them further, the police, so that if we find a common ground. But I think if the stalemate continues, they still insist that we can't protest, definitely we'll find other means in how we're going to protest.
Families in rural Zambia continue to be on the receiving end with regards to poverty. In Mwinilunga district of Northwestern Province, the situation is not different as parents struggle to fend for their families due to limited economic opportunities. More in the following report.
Well, tons and tons of food finds its way in rubbish pits in towns as people have plenty to feed on and throw some. Those in rural Zambia have no such privileges. In Chief Chibuika's chiefdom in Mwinilunga district of Northwestern Province, people are in need of food, such that even those ones in rubbish pits, they wouldn't mind having it, as they don't just have any to feed on. I stumbled upon this family near Chibuika Rural Health Center having lunch. I was shocked to learn that the entire family had lunch with a mere mouse, commonly known as infwa in the native Lunda. This boy happily enjoys his lunch with the head of the same mouse. The brother, on the other hand, is seen utilizing the tail of the same mouse.
Tunakabagana hone kunsango ya mafudi tunakabagana niya kubura nsaradi kahi diyuma tura kushota zara kun kumani Shumunenu tunenu yakashim man ishima iduko ko ukabagana ko shimani tata kumani bamuda kumani dina wenana king.
Sad state of affairs to watch and fume, especially when you think of the food you have wasted without knowing that someone out there would have been more than happy to have it. Lord, forgive us. One would justify this situation with an argument that the children look healthy and on the empty plate there was food which just got finished. But ask yourself why this plate was so clean such that one wouldn't even know that there was food, and yet most of our plates are never left in such a manner. It is also worth noting that a child can look healthy and yet they have malnutrition. Government, through the Office of the Vice President, is busy distributing food to the people of Lukasha where there is a pending by-election, while those highly in need of food patiently wait for a by-election so that government would also consider them. How sad. Kalan Uchima reporting for Camnet News, Muinunga District, Northwestern Province.
And in other news, the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR, has called on the transparency and accountability in the utilization of COVID bonds, recently launched emergency cash transfer funds that were meant for cushioning the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on households. JCTR Executive Director Alex Muyewe hopes that funds will be used to help the targeted beneficiaries. 2 weeks ago, government, through the Ministry of Community Development, launched the COVID-19 Emergency Cash Social Transfer Funds to cushion the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on some vulnerable families. Let's get the details.
2 weeks ago, Zambia launched an emergency COVID-19 social cash transfer scheme to help vulnerable communities affected by the pandemic. Launching the emergency scheme, Minister of Community Development Kampamba Mulenga made this particular gesture to help mitigate the impact of COVID-19 pandemic in homes of elderly, women and their children. This move has been welcomed by the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR. JCTR Executive Director, Father Alex Muyewe, says the move is a positive intervention as it aims at cushioning the sufferings of the vulnerable and marginalized people.
Jesuit Center for Theological Reflection, JCTR, welcomes the move by the government to put in place an emergency social cash transfer package, which is going to cushion the poor and vulnerable households as they deal with the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the pandemic itself requires that there should be a timely, responsive, efficient, and effective response to the impact of COVID-19, especially on the poor households.
Father Muyewe, however, calls against placing personal hands on the funds. He further cautions authorities responsible for the emergency support program to ensure that the social cash transfer fund and other food packs benefit targeted beneficiaries, while calling for proper accountability and transparency to avoid corruption.
Now, going beyond this emergency social cash transfer, which we understand is running for 6 months, is a call for government to mobilize resources and prioritize social cash transfer program for a long term. In the 2021 budget, we call on the government to allocate more resources in the social cash transfer or social protection programs, especially social cash transfer, to ensure that this support is reaching out to more households now that we have a lot of people, or a lot of households now that will qualify as vulnerable, and therefore there's also a need for more resources to make sure that now the database of the poor and vulnerable is larger, and so we also need to have more resources going in that direction.
For Camnet Television in Lusaka, Zambia, Namwinga Mwinga.
Livingston District Commissioner Pascalina Musokotwane has bemoaned the alleged increasing tribalism in Southern Province, a vice that she says has created hostility towards governmental developmental projects aimed at benefiting the people in the area. Speaking when a non-governmental organization, Zambians for Unity, Peace and Development, ZUPAID, paid a courtesy call at her office in Livingston on Monday, Ms. Musokotwane reiterated that politics should not be used to divide its people, but instead as a vehicle to promote unity as one exercises their democratic rights. And ZUPAID Vice President Rooney Jere says his organization has observed the need to sensitize communities on how best to denounce tribalism, which he says was denting the image of the people of Southern Province. Let's get the details.
You've come at the right time, where we need to sensitize everyone, in the entire country. More especially in Southern Province, let me not even beat around the bush. there's too much tribalism, especially when it comes to politics. Even outside politics, people have just taken it to say, okay, fine, because these people are not from here, then we should, live like this. But which is not supposed to be the case. God created us in His own image, and I'm happy because the pastor is also part of the organization. We should learn to love one another, despite our political affiliations. So we'll support you, and I'll always be part of that, because we need to preach this peace and unity. That's what we need. And I heard you mentioning that we are heading towards elections. We are heading towards elections, and the same peace, that's what we need. Let us do politics as a family, not as enemies, because at the end of the day, whichever government is going to prevail, we will still need the people. So as PF government, like you mentioned, it has always preached peace, but we just need to change our mindsets and believe in peace and unity.
We want to see how people can be able to look at things objectively and appreciate what government is doing in terms of developing this country. So we'll also look at showcasing developmental projects that government has done, especially in this province, because we're starting with Southern Province, but also in other provinces as well. So that's one of the major objectives that we also want to do. So we want to thank you for according us this opportunity. Maybe one of these radio programs, we may extend an invitation to you so that we can be able to maybe just tell us what your government is doing.
We work together for a common good, which is development. You cannot divorce development from unity. You find that ethnicity creeps in, and as a result we jeopardize the development because we are not united. And so the organization is trying.
You're still watching Camnet TV, not just another channel with Banda Tandiwe. We do take our set of commercials and return with more news stories. Do not go away.
I have used Oracle Pure Glycerin for 2 years now. It has really worked for me. It has cleared all the black spots on my face. It has restored my skin beauty. It also smoothens the skin. Try Oracle Pure Glycerin for perfect skin. If it's not Oracle Glycerin, then it's not pure glycerin.
Stay home, stay safe. Times have changed. With the advent of the coronavirus, Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company would like to advise its esteemed customers to avoid visiting crowded places. You don't have to move to pay your water bill. You can do it in the convenience of your home. You can pay your water bills through Zanaco Zapit, Stanbic Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and FNB. You can also use Airtel, MTN, and Zamtel Kwacha mobile money transfer services. For any inquiries to report a fault, please contact our customer service on +260 211 251 571, +260 975 618 618, and toll-free line 5957, Zamtel only. You can also simply email customerservice@lwsc.com. This public announcement is brought to you by the Lusaka Water Supply and Sanitation Company. Water is life. Sanitation is health.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Camnet TV Main News with Banda Tandi, where we continue with our stories. Now, a COVID-19 survivor says he came face to face with death when he contracted the disease. The survivor says the disease is real, but thank God for sparing his life over others who have succumbed to the pandemic. Constance Mwembe has details in this report.
A COVID-19 survivor has advised Zambians to take keen interest in practicing preventive measures as COVID-19 is real, speaking when he was invited to testify at the COVID-19 update by the Ministry of Health. The survivor says if the pandemic is not seriously taken, it has the potential of wiping out the whole world. The COVID-19 survivor was invited at the briefing to make it clear COVID-19 is not a hoax as many Zambians are taking it lightly.
It's not government is against the government. He needs to have one say. Continue health my health yet. No matter to minister look, I'm just a mayor person. Mayor person. Na liwele. Idara minister baresa babomo ni kusabo nishini I'm still there. Na came hospital 3 solid weeks. As I'm talking about it, my doctor was in the Tamalan study in the sun. Move over for me. So, what is the problem? I'm going to a short distance. Then I'm going to travel. Marish walk there for walk there in the apartment. But one day, she wanted to go to the getting to England. England don't know what to one. But you could pull up. If you are over it's taking 1-2 solid years. You know that for you, it will take time. So what I'm trying to say, stay away. Stay away. It's a shame at all costs. Because in the one imagine if I'm going to chance with the Apisala and the Pan. But I'm not pushed on the Pan for 1 hour. The month of 4.
And the Minister of Health, Dr. Chitalu Chilufya, has called for more compliance as the measures are already known.
And countrymen and women, what Robert is telling us here is that the best is not to get sick. And the only way to avoid getting sick is to stick to the public health measures that have been elucidated. And that when you get into the isolation center there, the possibility of getting very ill and dying is extremely high. So thank you for sharing your personal experience, and we, through your testimony, lives will be saved. Countrymen and women, government has been implementing a scalable plan that is informed by the evolution of the epidemic. The increase in numbers, the increase in deaths has informed the decision that His Excellency President Lungu and through Cabinet has made to strengthen the response. And I reiterate that government is acted to reduce personal contact at the workplace by ensuring that only essential workers are at the workplace, and the Secretary to Cabinet will issue the guidelines. And this is not to say work must stop. This is to say we leverage technology, Zoom, and telephones and other methods in order to ensure that we continue providing essential services.
In the last 24 hours, the country has recorded 6 new COVID-19 deaths, 1 facility death in Ndola, and 5 BIDs. Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Some unemployed youths in Lusaka have called on government to consider engaging them in the maintenance of the central business district on contract basis. The youth suggesting it will help them absorbing the many youths who loom the streets without any meaningful economic engagements. Namwinga Mwinga now gives us a report.
The once clean and green city is now perceived as one of the most unkempt cities in Zambia. Garbage and disorganized vendors are the first welcome a visitor receives upon entering the central business district of Lusaka town. As if that was not enough, lots of unemployed young people have now resorted into taking advantage of the confusion by engaging in illicit activities such as theft, drug abuse, prostitution, to mention but a few. Now, let's drive back to the once green city. Many efforts have been made regarding maintaining the Green, Clean and Healthy campaign. This campaign was relaunched by the head of state a few years back. The campaign was aimed at engaging every citizen into full participation, including replanting of trees. The question is this pronouncement still being put to use today? Some youths who shared their views with Camnet TV news crew feel all criminalities going on in this busy city would come to an end if government employed these young people.
Doti ni vambiri maningi tujiri wangu kumwa mayutsi bali benchit but when kungapezeke alternative yo leta mayouth kuti bankale pamoja irusaka singazoneka so ingazoneka creed kama youth yambiri chabe they are doing nothing.
Things are harder for many who have no businesses or jobs due to the coronavirus pandemic, adding that COVID-19 measures being correlated with those of other communicable diseases would best be applied by fully engaging young people into cleaning up the city in a form of a contract. The citizens further expressed dismay at how unruly many young people have become due to lack of jobs.
Lusaka siwoneka mwisho woneka doti kufunga government isebenzerepo. Mnjira ya mene ya vimanani vimalabishi vamene watingene sako tema youth nchito ya mkanzi watasebenzako.
Youth, they can maintain the city so that they become full-time employment.
Calling upon government to look into keeping the city green and clean and further contracting these unemployed young people. Reporting for Camnet Television in Lusaka, Zambia, Namwenga Mwenga.
In other news, the ruling Patriotic Front, through a wing calling itself PF National Youth Executive Committee, has called for open dialogue within the party. National Youth Vice Chairman Benjamin Siwela says this is the only way that the party will be able to canvass for open ideas from its members. Mr. Siwela says, and has further called for discipline amongst party youths. He says all unruly party cadres will not be shielded from persecution. Last week, police started its peaceful crusade ahead of the 2021 general election, where political party youths are being engaged. Let's get the details.
As such unbecoming behavior is a direct disrespect on the presidency. Therefore, the National Youth Executive Committee will work closely with all 10 provincial youth chairmen to ensure order and discipline is restored to Patriotic Front standards and per party constitution. To promote health dialogue and fast-track feedback, the National Youth Executive Committee will operate an open-door policy as a channel of communication for ideas, contributions, criticisms, and rebuffs. Therefore, any youth whose conduct will be to the contrary will only have themselves to blame. Due to the ongoing massive and unprecedented infrastructure development under the able leadership of President Edgar Chagwa Lungu, the opposition have nothing to decampaign the PF government apart from propaganda to ride on to gain some political mileage. As the youth leadership, we are urging our youth to focus on growing the party membership by embracing new and old members and remaining united for the 2021 victory. Let those that rely on social media propaganda continue amassing social media votes. For us, it's boots on the ground for His Excellency President Edgar Chagwa Lungu now and beyond 2021.
The opposition National Democratic Congress (NDC) has expressed concern at the frequent visits by government officials to constituencies where by-elections are expected to be held. NDC spokesperson Saroy Imboela wonders why government machinery has decided to move into the two constituencies of Mwansawambwe and Lukasha, even before the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, announces the date for commencement of by-elections. Ms. Imboela accuses the ruling Patriotic Front of commencing campaigns while other political parties are kept at bay using COVID-19 pandemic.
Democratic Congress Party NDC says it is disappointed with the ruling Patriotic Front's early campaigns ahead of the Mwansabombwe and Lukasha parliamentary by-elections. The opposition party says the recent directive by the minister in the office of the vice president, Oli Papiri, to the district commissioner in Kasama to ensure relief food is distributed in the area is disturbing.
We agreed with the people, which is the inconvenient place where we can be meeting. Also, so that also they sacrifice, and we also sacrifice, and we meet at one point. So when you do that, at the end of the day, no one will be complaining, and this food they will be receiving them as regularly because.
NDC spokesperson Sabo Imboela says the opposition is aware the ruling Patriotic Front have been having campaigns for some time now, but not according time to the opposition to do so. Ms. Imboela has therefore advised the ruling Patriotic Front to play fair or face consequences.
A PF, aligned MP. So we've had these two places which are more or less like PF places. So it's hard that when there's a by-election again, they will go to the people and pretend as if only when they support the PF, that's when development is going to come, And if you have noticed again, the PF have been using COVID-19 to make sure that the opposition are gagged. We cannot campaign, we cannot mobilize, we can basically not do anything. But for them, they are going all over the country and campaigning. So this is very, very unfair because the playing field is not leveled, So it's very, very sad. And as opposition political parties, we are very, very sad to see the PF through its SG and other officials do that. What the SG said is very, very unfortunate. What the officials are saying is very, very unfortunate. Using MMU, maize, using relief food to more or less buy votes from the people.
She also touched on the 2021 general elections, where she stated she hoped the Electoral Commission of Zambia, ECZ, will be professional as the opposition have lost faith in the commission. She narrated to Camnet TV how the ruling have been moving around the country campaigning but stopping the opposition from doing so.
And as we head to 2021, I think I would like to see the PF play a more fair game. That's the reason why it's not an ad hoc committee. It's an institution that is there the whole time. So meaning that they should work to ensure that we have credible elections, a free, fair process that all stakeholders are happy about. And so far, I think the current ECZ is not giving confidence to us as stakeholders. They keep on coming up with pronouncements which are shocking us. One day they're saying this, the next day they're saying that. I'm sure you saw even the fees, the astronomical fees that they came up with. Even when we still sat down as political parties and still recommended to say these are too high, come down to this, they did adjust downwards, but not to, again, the fees that we thought they would do.
Constance Mwemba reporting for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
And in other news, the Medical for Quality Healthcare in Zambia, MQHZ, has called on government through the Ministry of Health to ensure COVID-19 testing kits are made available in health facilities for mass testing in order for the country to ably combat the disease. Reports on the grounds are that government has run out of testing kits, a matter described as dangerous, especially now when the COVID-19 cases are increasing. Meanwhile, the organization has welcomed the announcement by government that allowances for frontline health workers will finally be paid. MQHZ Media and Advocacy Director Francis Kangwa says the incentives have come at a better time when the COVID-19 cases are surging, as they would act as motivation to the health workers. Mr. Kangwa says his organization is hopeful that the incentives will be paid quickly to all those helping to curtail the coronavirus pandemic.
The Medical for Quality Healthcare in Zambia has strongly welcomed the announcement by the government that the packages of frontline health workers will finally be paid. And this development has excited us and all frontline health workers in Zambia. At a time when the cases of the virus are surging, these incentives will come at an opportune time. And indeed, our hardworking health workers deserve great motivation for their gallant work done so far. As Makwas, we hope that these incentives will be handsome and paid quickly to all those helping to curtail the coronavirus pandemic. We further encourage the government through the Ministry of Health to make sure COVID-19 testing kits are made available in health facilities for mass testing in order for the country to ably combat the virus.
You're still watching Camnet TV, not just another channel. We do take our last set of commercials and return with our international and sports news. Do not go away.
To create a positive difference in people's lives, one must first understand the way people live. At Savenda, we're here for our community, our partners, and our future, as a nation and as a continent.
Back in 1997, we decided we were going to create this family journey into a bigger opportunity, and created a business called Savenda, which meant save nations to develop Africa.
It's always important to give back to the people. The government cannot do everything, but as business entities, we'll be able to reach a lot of people.
From our humble beginnings in the telecoms and mining sectors to our work in energy and development projects, we know how important it is to be true to our roots.
Our services have to be diversified so that we don't depend on one income stream. Back in the village, I was growing up hunting and doing everything that a village boy would like to do. When you're hunting, you don't depend on one trap, for example. You have to have many traps. So those survival skills brought into the business created opportunities that we learned from a young age that you can't survive with just one product. Savenda Group involves Savenda Management, which is a consulting, Savenda Express, which is a corporate branding company, Savenda Electric, which is a manufacturer of energy saving bulbs, Savenda General Insurance, which is a general insurance company, Savenda Fresh Produce, Cyber Africa, which is a center for just dealing with cyber security.
Now, Savenda is combining local knowledge with international expertise. It's time to be a part of Zambia's rising success and Africa's exciting future.
We are a gateway into Africa, and now we are praying with global companies who are coming to Zambia for opportunities and to look for companies that are homegrown, and we are proud to be one of those.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. In our international news, Lebanese Prime Minister Hassan Diab is due to address the nation in a speech widely expected to officially announce his resignation after several ministers stepped down. Tensions have been boiling over in the country following a mass explosion that on Tuesday tore through capital Beirut, killing some 200 people and wounding 6,000 others. Earlier, Justice Minister Marie-Claude Najem was the latest minister to announce her resignation, while Finance Minister Ghazi Wazni arrived to a cabinet session with his resignation letter, but held on to it until after the session. Information Minister Manal Abdel Samad and Environment and Administrative Development Minister Daminos Carter Dabes closest confidant in the cabinet resigned on Sunday, citing the explosion and the government's inability to reform. Foreign Minister Nassif Hiti had announced his resignation a day before the explosion. We monitored Sky News for the details.
Yeah, at 7:30 local, Hassan Diab is going to appear on television, and he is going to announce the fall of the government. So what we've got here is that the ramifications from the explosion are continuing. The political crisis in this country is deepening. Essentially, what has happened is the government has fallen as a result of what happened. Remember that the anger on the streets is profound. It was extremely significant before this catastrophe hit, with rolling protests since October the 17th. Those protests about the economic situation in the country had already got rid of one government, the government of Prime Minister Said Hariri, and now another falls. The question is, what happens now? And I think the answer to that is quite difficult to gauge. Certainly, this is an extremely dangerous moment for the country. Remember the context here. Remember the history, the background. This is a place that has experienced conflict occupation, assassinations, car bombs, and a civil war that went on for 15 years. If they don't get this right, there is, of course, the potential that you could backslide into that type of situation. We're nowhere near that yet, but that is the fear, that is the spectre looming in the background. What will happen in the next couple of days is that the president will try and work with the different political parties. Remember, it's a sectarian confessional system, and they will try and get a consensus candidate to be prime minister. Now, we just actually had confirmation from a government advisor that Hassan Diab will stay on as a caretaker prime minister in the interim until they find that candidate. Now, when that candidate is found, he or she will have to try and form a government.
We now get the details of our Camnet TV sports news. In our sports news, having left Manchester United almost a decade ago, it's no surprise that international soccer superstar Cristiano Ronaldo is ready to bid farewell to his home in the affluent English village of Adderley Edge, just 15 miles away from his former playing ground at Old Trafford. Ronaldo, who now plays forward for an Italian club, Juventus, listed 5-bedroom, 3-story brick house on Monday for $4.1 million US dollars, according to listing records. The Portuguese footballer is set to take £600,000 loss if it sells for that asking price. Ronaldo, 33, purchased a house for £3.895 million over a decade ago, according to the title document filed with the Land Registry in 2007. Images of the house reveal Ronaldo's surprisingly Gothic taste in furnishing. The Spartan decor left in the house is almost exclusively black, including a black shag and cowhide rugs, a plush charcoal grey couch, and even sheer black curtains. That sports news item brings us to the end of the news, but before we go, a recap of the headlines. Hunger continues to ravage rural Zambia. Bars and nightclub owners dare police over planned protests. Zupet deliberates on best ways of fighting tribalism in Zambia. And international news, Lebanon government expected to resign after Beirut explosion. And in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo selling former Manchester mansion for £3.25 million. Our Camnet verse for the day is coming from the book of Deuteronomy 31 verse 8, and it reads, "It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not fail you nor forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed." Thank you so much for watching. My name is Banda Tandiwe. Pleasant viewing.